Well, where's the read for Philip?
It was sitting on the.
What? And good evening. Welcome back to the palatial studios here, as they are, of the Central Florida Blitz, our second edition here of the 2024 season. Of course, I'm Marty Pallman. That is Joshua Wilson of FloridaHSFootball.com. And we are going to be looking ahead to a week of real games. I guess you could say this week, regular season games in FHSAA play. And Josh, last week, Week 1 for the SSAA, lots of games going on. It was an interesting week, and now we are at game week. We had a lot of interesting kickoff classics last week, too.
No, we did, and it's really, really interesting to say that with the games that we had last week, the SSAA got things going, and there's a lot to be said here. And
right.
But we got an interesting show here to set up for tonight for everybody.
Yes, we do, and we will tell you about that in just a moment. We'll have our Pick 6 coming up later, our fan question of the week. And we will also have our interview with Jeff Fisher.
Of High School Football.
Go ahead.
High School Football America.
Right, exactly. Thank you. That's coming up as well. And by the way, I want to thank, before we get moving here, our Philip Crutchfield. No two of us are exactly alike. That's why you need a financial advisor with the freedom to focus on the details and make your life your own, your family, the challenges you face, the dreams that inspire you. Whatever your goals, you need an advisor who can create a plan uniquely tailored to you, all backed by the sophisticated resources of Raymond James. That's life well planned. To learn more, call financial advisor Philip Crutchfield at 352-642-8330. Raymond James and Associates Incorporated, member New York Stock Exchange, SIPC. And yes, Josh, I had a chance to go out to Bell last week. That was where I was week 1.
And we will talk more about that tomorrow night.
Yeah, that's right. And like I said, it was a about 45-minute trip out there. And then this week I'll be heading over to Palm Coast, the other way, about almost 2 hours towards the Atlantic Coast for the Atlantic Ocean for Bishop Kenny football. So yeah, I got a lot of traveling coming up, but it's here. I'm very happy to have football back.
Yes, indeed. And well, that said, Marty, let's look at some other things we got coming up here. The fan question of the week, and then, as you said, our interview with Jeff Fisher from High School Football America. And you know what time that is.
And that means it's time for our headlines of high school football, the Blitz lines
yes,
for
indeed.
Central Florida football.
Absolutely.
And we will start off lots of kickoff classics, as we said. First and foremost, are Malin and Popka in trouble? Malin struggled to score points 11-3. Actually, sorry, I'm out of order here.
Yes.
I got the wrong thing. Okay, Jones and Seminole. That's where we'll start, and we'll talk about Malin in a moment. But Jones, how about Jones and beating Seminole at Camping World Stadium, 43-21? Jones dominates this game against Sanford Seminole.
Yeah, and that says a lot right there about what the Jones Tigers are going to bring back to the table. They've been the state semifinalists the last 2 years here in the Sunshine State, and now they're sitting there over there in Class 4A. And Class 4A is kind of interesting because there's not really a defending state champion sitting on that classification. So is this a potential could it be Jones or and there's other teams sitting there in 4A that are going to be potentially teams that are watching. One St. Augustine. Right. So I'm kind of curious to see how that's going to go for the Jones Tigers here. But dominating Sanford Seminole to start off the preseason and then get ready for week one here. That's definitely a good way to start things off.
Yeah, in fact, we will talk about our pick six later because Jones is in that this week as they will open the season with Winter Park. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, not a bad win. Seminole's always a good team, and they took care of business there right about 5 minutes away from the campus. Go right across the highway from Jones High School, and you're at Camping World Stadium there in Orlando. But
absolutely.
So, all right, next. Now we'll talk about Mainland, the defending state champion. Mainland, are they in trouble? Is the Popka in trouble? Mainland won in their kickoff classic, but only 11-3 at Eau Gallie. It was a pretty good team normally, but only scored 11 points. And meanwhile, Popka losing big to a pretty good Tampa Bay Tech team, 35-7.
Yeah, this one, the way Tampa Bay Tech handled things against the Popka, that says a lot. Popka, if you go back and compare, before last year, they were playing they were playing state championship games. They were in the mix for making it to state. Last year, things got out of hand and didn't get past. I think it was the second round. I want to say that was the regional semifinals, and so the Blue Darters, they've struggled a little bit here, and here again they get blasted here and by Tampa Bay Tech, and of course Mainland scored at one point. The score was 4-3 according to John Santucci of the USA Today Network here in Florida.
Baseball game broke out.
It was like, okay, now it was 4-3. Guess which sport?
Yeah, right. Baseball broke out. Right.
Baseball broke out. Yes, indeed, and that's. So my thought is that, from Mainland, honestly, you got a new head coach, Jeremy Bell. Defense obviously carried the game for him here against Eau Gallie. Question is, can that defense be able to carry you through the season until the offense finds its groove? Because if the offense doesn't find its groove quickly, I think that's going to be a problem.
Well, we talked about Mainland last week going through the coaching change, and although it's not a huge change going from Travis Rowland to his cousin there coming over from Atlantic, but yeah, that's a defense. Obviously, the defense is going to be pretty good. Mainland, though, is going to need to figure it out. They have University this week. That's another game we'll talk about a little bit later in our picks. But they have Cocoa coming up. Their schedule's got to get really tough so early in the year. So we will see in the next few weeks how Mainland is able to, kind of adjust to this. The defending state champs, the Buccaneers.
No, absolutely, and that'll be one to keep an eye on. Going into our next set of blitz lines here, Edgewater wins a barn burner against NFL Academy in England. So, you talk about the Eagles going overseas, 6-hour time zone difference, and they get into a barn burner, but they come out victorious there. And honestly, I got to give credit to Edgewater, and that's huge for them.
Yeah, that is. And I think we're going to see, obviously, Edgewater is another team that's been ranked pretty highly. I look at the Max Preps rankings this week. They're number 20 in the state of Florida. They're a team that we always talk about. But that's a good trip. We talked to Dwight Thomas last week about that on our show, and he was, I think he made the trip over there. I was like, that's quite a moment for Edgewater to go all the way over to England and play that game. And yeah, they ended up getting in a 51-45 game. It was quite a back and forth game. Edgewater picked up the win. It's not a regular season victory, but hey, it's a good way to get started in that kickoff classic.
No, absolutely. And we go into this one. Cocoa Smother Satellite Tigers seem to be clicking all cylinders early, and that was 71-0.
71-0. Yeah, Cocoa is already looking pretty good as they start the season, and they will start their season this week as well. Another two-time defending state champion that they will have Titusville. So another game we'll talk about. Titusville, coming off some good years as well. That'll be a good, really good opening week matchup. But yeah, no problem for Cocoa against Satellite, and Satellite's not a bad team, but Cocoa kind of made them look like they weren't even there.
Yeah, no, and the fact that the crowd cheered when Cocoa missed an extra point, that says something right there.
That was one of the exactly. That was at that point they were only down 43. So it was
you're right.
Running clock from the second quarter on. And again, Satellite's not a bad team, but Cocoa is just they're how good Cocoa is right now. They might be, if not for St. Thomas Aquinas or Chaminade, maybe the best team in the state of Florida.
No, you're right. And how about this? The Land Cruisers by Eustis. Eustis, they already had to replace their head coach already 3 days into the season. But here you go. You've got the Land cruising in here, and it's just literally, honestly, it's I mean,
Yeah.
the state semifinals last year, Rick Darlington. I mean, Rick Darlington's got the Bulldogs clicking on all cylinders, and they got an interesting game this week too, as well, I believe. And and it's honestly, I feel like DeLand, they're gonna be a team. You gotta keep an eye on them.
Yeah, DeLand's always going to be up there too. I agree. And you just said that name. We talked about Apopka earlier, but the name Rick Darlington, he took Apopka to multiple state titles, and it's a team, the program that it's been good, but not as good since Coach Darlington left, and then came back to Florida now at DeLand. And you're right, he's got DeLand on the up and up. It's always been a pretty solid program. They just haven't really had a hard time getting over the hump and winning state titles, but. It's tough to do that. We know that, and we'll see how this DeLand team does, as they're going to have to deal with Mainland later on as well.
No, absolutely, and of course, just a reminder, everybody, if you're watching here on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, click that notification bell. You can also subscribe, follow us on the social media platforms. You'll see that there with under the Get Social with Us on X at FLAHS Football, and then of course Facebook, Instagram, TikTok at Florida HS Football, and then hit that QR code. You can download the FloridaHSFootball.com app. And
last subject, Masters Academy, talking about SSAA, and they opened the defense of their state title with a win over Foundation Academy.
Yes, indeed. And honestly, for the Masters Academy, to start the season this way, that's pretty good for them. Totally. Foundation Academy just joined the SSA a few weeks ago, and here they are. The Masters Academy was like, well, here's hold on, just because you're coming in doesn't mean you're gonna have it easy peasy here. And Masters Academy is 1-0 on the season, and that's the way it goes. And also, Marty, if the fans have a question for us, they can hit that comment box, especially with our guest coming up here, Marty.
That's right. We were going to hear from Jeff Fisher of High School Football America coming up in just a few moments. But first, we have our first 2-minute water break of our Central Florida Blitz. It's episode 2 as we head into the opening week of the FHSA football season here in Florida. We'll take a break. Marty Pallman, Joshua Wilson with you back in a moment here on the Central Florida Blitz.
All right, welcome back here on the Central Florida Blitz here on FloridaHSFootball.com. And if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button and click that notification bell. Or if you're watching us elsewhere, you can also post your comments there on any of the social media platforms you're watching us on, including that's YouTube, Facebook, and X. And happy to have this next gentleman up here. He is become a well-respected over 20 years. I think it's 20th anniversary this year, actually, for High School Football America, and that's Jeff Fisher right there. And Jeff, I appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule. And you're still up in Atlanta, correct?
Yeah, outside of Atlanta right now. It finally cooled off today. We were actually having I think we actually have a little taste of football. It tastes a little bit like fall right now.
Yeah, no, we're not getting that so much cool down here.
Bring that down here. Bring that down here, please.
If you can send that down here, we'd be greatly appreciative of it right now, Jeff. All right. But, Jeff, let's talk about this with the High School Football America 300, the preseason 300, which still you didn't update the rankings despite some of the states already starting to kick off the season already around the country here. I know Georgia started last week, Florida really kind of getting things going here this week. But when you put that preseason 300 out on July 8th, I mean, you said let the debates begin. And one of the biggest things that stood out here is that Florida led the nation with 46 schools ranked in the top 300. And, first, give us a synopsis about the High School Football America top 300 rankings. And then why do you think Florida led compared to other states like Texas, Georgia, California, and Ohio among the tier 1 schools?
Sure,
states,
no problem. No problem. It's as you said, it's our 20th anniversary this year. This is my 50th overall covering high school football and professionally. I started when I was 14 years old. But when Trish Hoffman and I, my partner in crime, she and I put together this company back in 2004. It was more about coming out of the mainstream media that we had both worked in and trying to figure out what the fans were going to want. And long and the short of it is, and this is the truth, I've never really been that big of a fan of rankings. I mean, I've done them because I know fans love them, but it's not necessarily the thing that I like doing. Maybe it was the fact that I didn't have a thick skin back then. But in 2012, so basically 8 years in, I decided, I'm going to put together an opinion poll, the top 25. Well, you know what happened, guys. I got a lot of feedback and not necessarily great. But it did get me to think through the first 8 years, like there's got to be a better way to do rankings. And I knew there were, computer rankings out there before. And I just thought, maybe I can come up with an algorithm that kind of figures things out. And I'll tell you, and Jim Haley at USA Today is really the guy that helped me the most, because I believe it was 2012, might have been 11, where he had a team from West Virginia in there, Martinsburg, West Virginia. Great program and the biggest classification, but it was in West Virginia. And I just can't, in my own heart of hearts, know that if Martinsburg, Virginia, West Virginia was going to play, name it, Miami Central, St. Thomas Aquinas, go out west, Mater Dei, St. John Bosco, probably 99 out of 100 times, or maybe 100 out of 100, they were going to lose. So I got down during 12 and 13 to start doing an algorithm. Came up with it. We unveiled it at the end of 2013. I think you might remember that, Josh.
Yes, I do. I do remember that. That was in the early days of what I was doing. I mean, this is now year 15 for me. So talk about how long it's been.
Yeah, and we had kind of not said what we were doing with the rankings. So we're still doing a top 25 at that point. And we didn't say we were using an algorithm, but it was really close coming down the stretch. We actually, in 2012, during the opinion poll, I couldn't take the pressure, so I named Alan out of Texas and John Curtis out of Louisiana as co-champs. And anyway, when it all came to shove, Alan ended up number 1 in 2013. That was when we let the world know that we were doing an algorithm ranking. And we just kept expanding it from there. We went to a top 50. Then we went to a top 100. I think that was in 17. And then a couple of years ago, I decided to do it with a 300. And to my surprise, that great feedback that I got back in 2012 really went away. People have really said a lot of kind things. Coaches, media people seem to think that we found the right mix in our algorithm. And the biggest thing is it's got a little bit of weight to it. And what I mean by that, and it's not tricked up or anything, but, let's face it, the Floridas, the Texases, the Californias, the Georgia, we all know the big states, right? So because playing, there's better competition across all of those states, it works, especially when it comes to the strength of schedule portion of it all. So Long and the short of it is we've been crowning champs since 2012. We're very proud of what we have right now. I still don't really enjoy preseason rankings. And you know why. It's you guys have the same problem, right? So you sit there and try and tell me when high school programs change as much as they do anyway because of graduation. Now throw in some, transfers, especially when we're talking about those top 50 to 100 schools. There's no way that there's any way to do that. So we basically scaled down the algorithm, pull some of the criteria out. So a lot of it is, and I'm not going to give away the whole, not how the cake gets baked here, but long and the short of it is what's going, you got to have a historical rank to it as well. Who's coming back as best we can tell, right? And like I said, that changes a lot. So that's really how it's done. And then to get to your question on, why Florida? Well, you guys have kind of ruled the roost over the last 3 or 4 years. We did a top 1,000 before we got to the 300, and you guys rocked in that too. But I would say at the end of the day, the biggest thing that has put Florida to the top, and just to put it in perspective, there are 46 Florida teams in the top 300 in our preseason rankings, 40 from Texas. I don't have it right in front of me here. I think it was 32 from Georgia and 31 from California. But anyway, the long and the short of it is you guys have come out on top because, not only do you have great in-state competition, you're playing more and more out-of-state competition. And that's where you are. The top team this year for us is Chaminade Madonna, and they'll put themselves into a national championship conversation if they beat number 5 St. John Bosco out of the box. You got St. Thomas Aquinas sitting there at 7. They beat number 2 Bishop Gorman from Nevada this week. It's going to be an interesting year in Florida. So hopefully I got that pretty quickly, but that's the history and where you are at this point in quick summary.
No, I'm sorry, Jeff. I was looking at my phone here trying to figure out the percentages and using the calculator. 15% of the teams come from Florida in your list, and only half, you just said, come from 4 states. I mean, how good is that? I mean, that tells you how good those states are. But I mean, I give you credit. I mean, I don't know how you rank 300 teams. I don't know how you do it, but that's a lot. I mean, it's hard to rank 20 teams, I think, some weeks.
Yeah, and we rank 15,000. I mean, we don't give you, again, going back to the ugly sausage being made, but we go down through it. We do our statewide rankings as well and all that. But yeah, it's not easy. We have not changed the algorithm as much over the last, like I said, there were what year, we started in 13, so here we are in 24, so year 11 or 12, whatever that comes up to. And the first 3 or 4 or 5 years, I really sat down at the end of it and tried to see, how I thought it did. The hardest part of that was trying to figure out how to keep my opinion out of it, because I do have an opinion. We all have opinions, right? So
yes, everybody has one.
That's why we're here. But anyway, we tweaked it. So now we're feeling pretty confident about it. I think the great blessing for us was back in during COVID, in the middle of COVID, the NFL came calling NFL play football, and they said, gee, we really like what you guys have been doing here for all these years. And they now power the HSFA 300. So that's kind of a cool thing for us too. And like I said, at the end of the day, not a big fan of the preseason. The reason we did not do a ranking this week, and we will next Sunday, we always release on Sundays, is because we want to give everybody a shot in there, right? Yeah, Georgia played a full schedule this past weekend. California had a handful of games. Nevada played. I mean, Bishop Gorman started in Hawaii. It just doesn't, I like to have that first one be as legit as it can be. And I think you and I have talked about this, Josh, back in the day, Marty. I believe it was the first year of it, and I could be wrong about that. It was 12 or 13. I did not release the first ranking. I did no preseason. I didn't do the first ranking until 3 weeks into the season, and people lost their minds. And I said, We're trying to get the algorithm to do what it does best, which is, analyze what's going on the field. That would be what my druthers would be each and every year. But hey, fans love it. I love the clicks at the website. It draws, the conversation. It gets going. And my skin is much, much thicker at this point.
Yes, no, absolutely, and that's a good thing. I mean, I know when trying to predict games and stuff, fans they will eat that up. Rankings and predictions. That's the two biggest things, and of course, obviously, scores on a Thursday or Friday night. Those are the three big things that fans eat up during the season, and it's like why are you picking this team or my team? It's like it seems like we have some kind of biases against them or something, but we're just like, hey, we're just looking at what's happening right now here on the field, basically.
Yeah,
right.
It's as simple as that. It really is. And like I said, when coaches start saying to you, gee, I think you guys are pretty close. Yeah, that's good. But at the end of the day, we have these things called state championships, whether it's Florida, Georgia, California, Maine, Montana, they all have state championships. So eventually it gets sorted out on the field in some way, shape, or form. And what's made my life a whole lot easier, especially over the last 5 years, is the fact that we have so many interstate games now, right? And you guys have to love that. I mean, with your Broward County event you have there in the South.
Oh, that's going to be huge.
I mean, that's like the national championship almost being wound up in week 2, kind of. I mean, my week 2. If you look at it from that standpoint with all those great games.
No,
it's
absolutely.
Like starting the season with the Daytona 500 or something, right? Just like that. Absolutely.
That's very, very good.
Well, and speaking of that event, as you were just talking about, that's coming up Friday, Saturday in Fort Lauderdale. How do you see, or actually around Broward County, as you said, how do you see those games kind of shaping up this weekend?
It's been interesting. I try and use St. John Bosco's traveled there twice to open with St. Thomas Aquinas, and that you find out a lot of things when you have a team that's played. If you're both doing your opener, and that was always the case with both teams. I think in the case of Gorman against SDA, I think that's going to be real interesting because Gorman, which is stacked, loaded like it always is, played last week in Hawaii. So they played very well. They beat a Kahuku team that last year beat St. John Bosco out of California. They came in preseason ranked 30. They kind of handled them real easy at 33-7. So now you've got Gorman. And I don't know what they did. I didn't check with the coach, but so I don't know if they left, Vegas today, tomorrow, when they're doing it. But if that game was in Hawaii, I feel a whole lot different about it. But I think because they played in Vegas, they got that game under the belt against a quality opponent. I mean, that Kahuku team has won 3 straight Hawaii state championships. I like Gorman in that one. But, home field advantage, all that good stuff, you never know. I mean, the thing about it is neither team will be gun shy when it comes to the big stage of being on ESPN, right? Both of these programs know how to win. Think about this. So St. Thomas Aquinas has won 5 straight, right? Most ever in the state of Florida. That's the state record, right? And Bishop Gorman's won 13 out of 14. So you got a couple of teams there with lots of trophies, lots of hardware in the trophy cases. And then in the Bosco Chaminade Madonna game, I'm interested to see that one for a couple of reasons. A, Bosco reloads, but they did lose a lot. But what do you lose when you've got, Division I talent up and down the roster that literally is sitting on the bench the year before? And I thought probably they might have had quite a go. And then going back to those transfers I mentioned earlier, Chaminade Madonna put some decent players on that roster now. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
I mean, and at this point, just to wrap it up here real quick, do you feel like a team from Florida has that chance this year to win this national title? I mean, I guess you would say yes.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about it. I think, the teams that are mentioned there. So you've got, 2 is Chaminade Madonna. IMG is 2, IMG at 4, St. Thomas Aquinas at 7. And then, you still have teams like Miami Central and American Heritage out of Plantation. All have a shot because they all play high quality in-state schedules and out-of-state schedules.
And that's huge right there, and everything for that. But Jeff, I appreciate you being able to take some time out of your busy schedule. I know we'll chat with you more as the season progresses here, especially as once November rolls around when playoffs get going, and because that's when it'll really come down to the wire for teams across the country here for potentially to be crowned be called national champions.
Yeah, and congratulations to you guys, Josh. You and I go way back, as we were saying. I respect the heck out of what you do. The state of Florida is lucky to have guys like you doing what it is you do. I think you do it the right way, the best way, and just congrats on all of your success.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Jeff, and thank you, and congratulations to 20 years there for High School Football America. That's definitely achievement. That's definitely an achievement. So, Jeff, definitely appreciate it. Thank you so much, and we'll catch with you soon.
Sure. Take care.
All right.
Thanks, Jeff. All
right. That was Jeff Fisher from High School Football America joining us here on the Central Florida Blitz. And the season's going to get interesting. It's been real quick. These games this coming weekend in Broward County could decide a lot.
Yeah, you thought you were doing 15 years a lot. He's done 20. I mean, geez, you won't be there. It won't be long for you to get to 20, but still, no, I think it's kind of, I'm glad we got to talk to him because he's a real good look at the national aspect of high school football. But man, I tell you, and I was just thinking one of the other issues maybe would be Bishop Gorman having to travel all the way across the country, same for Bosco, but they've done it before so many times. I'm sure they're used to it at this point. These teams travel all the time. It's not like your typical high school football team. These are like teams that go all over the country. So I don't think that'll be an issue, but it's going to be fun to watch this opening week. I'm looking forward to those games. Saturday on ESPN, we'll see those two. We talked about that last week as well with the South Florida Blitz. So, but anyway, that was good to have Jeff Fisher on there. And we will, as you hear the music, that means we're going to another break. Coming up, we will have our fan question of the week and give you our pick six, give you some results from week one as you are watching the Central Florida Blitz. All right, welcome back to the Central Florida Blitz. Marty Pallman, Joshua Wilson. Want to again thank our guest today, Jeff Fisher of High School Football America. Reminder, coming up at 8:30, we will have the Gulf Coast Blitz. That's our next show coming up just a little while after our Central Florida Blitz wraps up. And then tomorrow night, again at 7:30, we'll start with the South Florida Blitz. And then at 8:30 to 9:15, the North Florida Blitz tomorrow night. That'll wrap up the blitzes for Monday and Tuesday this week. And then we'll have of course, games on Thursday, a lot of places around the state, which we'll get to in a minute. But right now, before we do our pick six, Here is our fan question of the week.
Do we really have a fan question thing? As someone that we have not had anyone drop a fan question, but if you got a question, drop it in the box. But we do have some comments we'll go ahead and throw up here. And someone did say, "Hey, I had Swagger to Turp, who is watching us on X. He said I have Jones versus American Heritage in the 4A championship."
Hey, I can see that. Definitely see that. That's a possibility. Jones supposed to look pretty good last week.
Yes,
and that'd be quite a game against American Heritage. Wherever that game is played, we still don't know where the state championships will be, but yeah,
that is a good thing. That is something we don't know yet. Is where is those state championships going to be, and that's a thing that the FHA has not addressed yet.
Yeah, not yet. I mean, it's not September yet. I get it. The finals are in December, but still, you're coming up on about under 4 months to go before the championships now. And I'm assuming there'll be an announcement coming up sometime, in September, but we'll see. All right, rank them nationally.
But IMG shouldn't be considered a Florida school.
I feel like we're talking to Corey Davis on this one. We always have this. No, he always says they shouldn't be ranked nationally because they don't play for state championships. And you know what? That's a good point. They do not play for state championships. It's that's one I've always thought about too, is that as good as IMG can be and as good as their schedule is, they're never gonna play for a state title unless they decide to come to the FHSA, which I doubt that's gonna happen. But I mean, and also technically I know what he's saying there, because a lot of the players come from out of state. They go to IMG. A lot of them are. So yeah, I get it. Even though it's in Bradenton, not necessarily a Florida school. So.
But if you do have a fan question, you can email your question to football@florida.com to have a chance to have your question answered next week on the show. Use subject line fan question of the week.
Yeah, bring it to us. Come on, we want to answer some questions here in the next couple of weeks throughout the season here on the Central Florida Blitz. Now it's time for the pick six.
The pick six of week one. How about that?
Pick six of week one.
But first,
we got to look back at our results.
Yes, indeed. There it is. Last week's results. Hey, Marty, congratulations! You were 5-1.
Apparently, I'm like the computer somehow. And
yes,
even though it's Josh's computer, he was a game behind the computer. So
well, that's because I decided to take Trinity Christian Daytona over.
Oh, right.
But we lost the Faith Christian game. That's we did lose that one. Even the computer was wrong on that one. So
that's what happens when you follow that every time. But a good start for both of us, I'd say.
No, absolutely, and we'll go with that one. So, Marty, here is our first game of the regular season, and honestly, Madison County at DeLand, this is going to be a good one here. The Cowboys going over to Spec Martin to play the Bulldogs, and it's a battle of Price Harris versus Rick Darlington.
Yeah, nice coaching matchup there. Madison County ranked second in rural classification behind Hawthorne, who's the two-time defending state champion. And that, but DeLand, a team we were just talking about that we think is going to make a real run for the state title as well. I really like Madison County, but I got to tell you, in this game, I'm taking DeLand at home. I think they're going to win this game at home.
Really? There you go. All right. And I'm going with this one, and I'm going with DeLand here at home as well. And
the computer disagrees.
The computer disagrees here. Yeah. The computer says Madison County 8 over DeLand. But you know what? These two teams, they were both, DeLand was state semifinals last year. Madison County was a state runner-up to Hawthorne. Right. Two out of the last 3 years for Madison County. Madison County being a runner-up, I should say. No. Am I getting that mixed up? Madison County definitely runner-up last year. I know that. Year.
Yeah,
but
they won it.
They missed it. They missed even get to the state championship 2 years ago because they just struggled. And
Hawthorne beat Northview that year to win the. Yeah, that's right. So, but Madison's been there 2 of the last 3 years. They won it back in 2021. They're a normal team there, but to making that point. But yeah, I tell you, DeLand's gonna be good too. You just mentioned how Rick Darlington's got that team. I like them to win at home, even though the computer says no. All right. Well, here we go. Mainland hosting Orange City University. And remember, it's a university team that was a playoff team a year ago. This game being at Mainland, we were just talking about how Mainland's offense struggled last week against O'Galley. O'Galley's not a bad team, though. I was looking at the Max Prep State rankings. They're ranked in the top 20 statewide. But Mainland at home in this opener, I'll take the Bucks. to win this game. And then they got Cocoa coming up next.
Oh yeah, and then I'm going with Mainland here as well, despite the struggle.
48,
and the computer says 48 over University.
Now,
but
can
you got to
score 48 points. I mean, can they? They
the
scored
question
11
is,
last week.
I mean, that's the question. But when we look at the, there is a historical component here over the last 2 years. You got to think about it. Mainland's been that good over the last 2 years. So,
Yeah,
and where's
true.
Orange City University? Yeah, really strong season, second round regional semifinals last year, but year before that, they weren't even in the playoffs. So there's the difference right there.
Yeah, they struggled a bit, but last year they had a good year. But I mean, I think Mainland does win this opener at home.
Absolutely. And
What's
with that
next?
said, Bishop Moore at Oviedo.
Yeah, I think we had a little disagreement on this one, actually. Bishop Moore, and I know Bishop Moore is also a team that's a perennial playoff team. That last year they advanced to the region final, lost to Bowles. And, obviously these are two Orlando teams, two teams in Orange County. But I honestly, Oviedo, we talked about how good they've been. Another state ranked again this time in the top 10 in their classification. And I think Oviedo wins at home. I got Oviedo in this game.
Well, I am going with the road team here on this one, and that is going to be Bishop Moore. And the computer says Bishop Moore 15 over.
Surprises me. So we're going to go against the computer a bit this week, but
yes.
15 points too. But I mean, I guess we'll find out. This is part of the thing about picking week one, and you never really know how these teams are going to come out. But
well, I mean, for the first few weeks, it's like you could put a map up on the thing, and you can basically throw darts at this, and you'd be right.
It's true. That's very true. But we're going to have a little bit of a difference on that one. Coming up next, we have Vera.
Skipped ahead. Well, there we go.
Winter Park at Jones. We said this earlier. This is going to be a good opener for Jones. And again, they were very impressive in their kickoff classic win over Seminole. But, I mean, Winter Park, always a good team. They're receiving votes in 7A in our poll. But I tell you, Jones, and you just saw our fan there earlier said he thinks Jones is an American Heritage in 4A. I think Jones has got a real chance to go to the championship as well, and I like them to win this opener at home against Winter Park.
I like this as well. I mean, Jones looked mightily impressive last week against Seminole, so you have to really, really think about this here, and that's why I am going with the Jones Tigers, and the computer says Jones 13 over Winter Park, so there you go.
Not that I have to agree with the computer, but I'm glad it does agree with us this time. All right, and this is a good one. We talked about Eau Gallie a little bit earlier, losing to Mainland last week in a close one. Vero Beach heading to Eau Gallie this week, and on a battle of Indian River and Brevard County there, right on the Atlantic coast.
Right there on Long I-95.
Yeah, right there near the Space Coast, basically. And the Vero Beach Indians, boy, they've had what a program they've been lately. Haven't been able to quite get over the hump to get to the state championship and all, but they're always good, ranked 6th on 7A to start. And I tell you, I know it's a road game, but I like Vero Beach here.
Well, I'm going with the Indians as well. Vero Beach, this is going to be a good battle here. But at the end of the day, Lenny Janikowski's Indians,
Janikowski, yeah.
He's definitely going to have his Indians ready for this one. And the computer even says Vero Beach 10 over Eau Gallie.
Not a lot, but I mean that's still on the road. That's not bad. That's my favorite. Still my favorite name, Eau Gallie in the state of Florida.
Eau Gallie used to be an actual city at one time before no, it actually is it was annexed into the city of Melbourne years back late 60s, but
I knew it was around. But it was a city. All right, finally we talked about this earlier, the two-time defending state champion, the Cocoa Tigers, and they are another game there in that Space Coast area. They'll host the Titusville Terriers. Titusville coming in off a playoff appearance the last couple of years.
Last 2 years.
Yeah, but unfortunately, I don't believe that they're going to be able to go in and beat this Cocoa team.
I mean, I'm going to give mad props because Titusville's schedule is actually much stronger than it was last year. So got to give them props for scheduling tougher. They know that if you're going to get farther, you're going to have to play tougher games. You're going to have to be the man. You have to beat the man.
That's right. Even listen to Ric Flair, I guess, a little bit or something there.
Well,
Woo!
I mean, there you go.
Yeah.
But in this situation, I don't know if Titusville can beat the man, considering that Cocoa is the man in terms of state champions.
Well, technically, St. Thomas Aquinas is the man. They
won
that 5
too,
in a row. But I mean, and that's with Cocoa's last loss a year ago. Controversially speaking, but
yes,
still. But yeah,
which I thought it was a win.
I agree. It looked like it, but either way, Cocoa is going to win this game, and
here we go.
43. I mean, yeah, that's
But could it be 43? I think that margin could be a little smaller. The fact that Titusville is not the same as Satellite, and of course, obviously Cocoa put 71 up. Now Cocoa goes and puts 50, 60 points up on Titusville.
Right.
All bets are off on this, and then you might as well just at that point, do you just start handing Cocoa the state title now and forget display in December because the way they're playing. But I know.
Well, Berkeley Prep may have something to say about that. Who knows? But yeah,
Berkeley Prep may have something to say about that. Bradford may have something to say.
That's right.
Cardinal Mooney may have something to say about that because they're all in the same classification.
Cardinal Mooney and Berkeley Prep all won state titles last year too. So you're right. All right, so that's our pick 6 here for week 1 for the FHSA high school football season.
Final thoughts, Marty.
Final thoughts. I'm excited. I mean, I'll be broadcasting my first game of the season Friday night, ready to get going again. It hits you kind of over the weekend. It's game week. We're here, and but looking forward to also checking out those games on Saturday. It's going to be pretty interesting to watch those nationally televised games as well. And I'm glad Jeff Fisher could come on and kind of talk a little bit about the national scene because we're going to see a lot about that this week. But ready to go. I'm ready for last week was nice to kick off classics, but this week it's the real season beginning.
Yeah, and you said, hey, it's game week here, and that's the big thing, and that's what's nice about this. This is game week, and you know what? How about that? It is game week.
Hey, game week. All right.
Yes.
The fans go wild.
Yes, the fans do go wild.
Yeah, so hopefully they will. The crowd will go wild this week. But
yes.
Well, that's going to do it for our second edition of the Central Florida Blitz. Again, want to thank Jeff Fisher of High School Football America for joining us. And we will be back next week, next Monday, 7:30 for the Central Florida Blitz Edition 3. Coming up at 8:30 tonight, the Gulf Coast Blitz. You've been watching the Central Florida Blitz tonight on YouTube, also on Twitter/X and Instagram. And also, Josh, go ahead and take us out.
Yeah, well,
sorry.
Well, appreciate it. And we'll see you here on the Gulf Coast Blitz. Just make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube and also follow us on social media at FortHS Football or on X at FLHS Football. So we'll see you soon for the Gulf Coast Blitz.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.